Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Fan Behavior and F1 podcast. I am Zoe, and as always, I'm here with Hannah.
Hello.
I shouldn't say as always, because there have been some times where we haven't been together, but
That's okay.
for the most part, we are.
And like such as.
And like everything like such as. Happy summer break. Summer break rolls on.
Certainly does.
When this comes out, we will be just days away from race weekend in Zandvoort. Do you know what Zandvoort is? I don't want to put you on the spot if you don't know.
Dutch?
Yes, exactly.
I knew it was Max, but I was nervous I was going to say something stupid.
So we're almost there. We're almost there. But we have to fill the summer break with, I would say, evergreen content is a good way of putting it, because there hasn't, at least when we're recording this, hasn't been a lot of news to discuss.
It's true.
Not a lot of stuff going on in silly season, at least as of right now. Again, as the time of recording, things may change by the time this comes out, though I don't know what exactly. So, we figured let's make some content that the people have been asking for.
Amen.
And the people have been asking for a Grand Prix guide, USGP tips and tricks episode from us, where we just give what we've experienced and what we think people who are maybe going to their very first race, the do's and don'ts of just races in general, but then also specifically of the USGP. So that's what we're going to do this episode. I do want to preface before we get into all this that Hannah and I are nowhere near experts on this topic.
Certainly not.
We've both been to Austin once. I've been to one other race, but that's it. So we are very, very, inexperienced in terms of going to races. We can only speak to the experience we've had thus far. And there's a lot of other people out there, creators, podcasters, who have been to many more races in many more locations, who have probably a lot more knowledge and experience and tips, tricks than we do. So just want to preface with that off the top, that take what we say with a grain of salt. Take what you want, what you don't want. Find other information elsewhere, but I would not say to use us as like a be all end all of how to do a GP and how to do the USGP.
No.
We can only speak to our experience. So that's what we're going to do. The majority of this episode is going to be about the USGP and sort of like what you should know leading up to the USGP. It's only a couple months away now. So the majority will be about that, about, accommodation, where to sit at the race, what the track is like, all those types of things. But I also figured we could give you some general tips that even if you're not going to the USGP, you can carry with you to other races. So shall we get into it?
Let's do it.
Okay. So again, this is just the general GP tips and tricks. I think the very first thing that is so important is, and this sounds obvious, but every single race is different.
Yeah.
You cannot compare necessarily your experience. Let's just use the USGP, for example, in Austin, Texas, to what you would experience, like for me, when I went to Monaco.
Right.
I mean, I it's obviously not night and day because they're still Formula One races, but one is at a permanent racetrack.
Yep.
The other is a street course. In a very, very small European country compared to a major metropolitan American city.
Yeah.
Everything is going to be different. And so just because something is one way at one track does not mean it's going to be the same way at a different track, yada, yada, yada. And that goes for literally everything: where you sit, the pricing, what is available for you at the track, transportation, the cost of where you're going to stay. I mean, everything is different.
Right.
So, and that's even true within the US. The people that experience Miami is very different from your experience in Austin.
Yeah.
So just remember that going forward. Now, obviously, there's some things that are true in terms of like, you should always bring sunscreen to every track you go to. You should always have a portable charger with you, all those types of things. But it is not like when you go to any other sporting event, and not that you've been to a bunch of sporting events, but like if you go to a soccer game, yeah, the stadium might be a bit different, the fans, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
There's a ticket, there's a seat.
Yeah.
It's
same with concerts.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's all just kind of the same.
And that is not the case when it comes to Formula One. So that's important to remember.
Yeah, you can use it as a reference, but it's not going to be a definitive like, oh, it was like this here, so it's going to be like this here.
This also sounds very obvious, but it is incredibly important for you to do your own research.
Yes.
Very, very important. And again, you can ask people, you can reach out to us, you can reach out to other people who've been to races, but the reality is that you kind of have to take matters into your own hands and do your own research. And this goes for, again, any track you're going to. When we went to Austin last year, we both hadn't been to any Formula One races. And I can't tell you the amount of time I spent on Reddit, on social media, on Google, and the beautiful thing about this sport is that there's so many resources available to you. So you can find people who've been to probably any single race you're thinking about going to. And I've said this before, but Reddit is such an incredible tool because you'll get firsthand experience from people who've been to Monza, who've been to Barcelona, who've been to Suzuka, who've been to Singapore, whatever. And you can really find firsthand from people the do's and don'ts, experiences, et cetera, et cetera. So utilize those as much as you can, but really do your research because, like I said, every single race is different. Every single how to get to and from and where races are located are all different. So you've got to do your research.
Yeah.
And I'm a big research person, so that comes easy to me. And I know it's not always like people's favorite part of it's not necessarily fun for people to like do the homework.
Yeah.
But it's very necessary.
Yeah. It's very important.
It's very, very, very important. I also think an important thing to remember, especially if you've never been to a race before, is that, and again, this is how it's different from other sports, is the viewing experience on TV is going to be better than at a race.
Yeah.
And that seems counterintuitive, or it seems like, I don't know, like you don't go to enough, and speaking for me, and I feel like you feel the same way. You don't go to an F1 race or an F1 race weekend to like see incredible racing.
Because you can't.
You can see the cars go by. You can see incredible speed. You can see the cars in person. You might be able to see some overtaking, a pass here and there. But the reality is you're going to see maybe a couple of minutes comprehensively of the race.
Yeah.
And that's really important to keep in your head because you're going for different reason. Like you're going for at least again, for me, it's the environment. It's the vibe. You're around other race fans. It's more festival vibes.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say. And again, this all depends on where you're sitting, what you're able to see, what you're able to not see.
But even the best grandstand seats only have a certain amount of visibility of the whole track. Even those who are in like the nicest hospitality suites only have limited visibility. The difference between the hospitality suites and normal grandstands is that they can go inside and look at the TV.
Right.
So yeah, and I will say too, I think, one thing we notice at COTA is that the screens are relatively small, so it can be hard to see them. I don't know what that is like at other tracks. I imagine that varies a little bit. Yeah. Like at Monaco, you said they were big.
Yeah, in Monaco, it was big, and we happened to be like directly across from a TV, and it was great. And the announcers were very loud, so we like knew what was happening in the like. And obviously, this is qualifying, but like it was in terms of like knowing what was going on and like following much easier in Monaco than it was for us last year when we were at COTA. So yeah, a lot of that depends on where are you? Can you see a TV? Are you able to figure out what's going on? Because if you're right in front of a TV, then it's great.
Yeah.
But you can't always guarantee that. Mm-hmm. So I think that's important to remember in the back of your mind. Like you're not going to be able to know everything that's going on in the race. Like even for us at COTA last year, is like we didn't know what happened to certain people, or like someone had Max had a bad pit stop, but then like I think Seb had a bad pit stop, but we didn't know that, and we're like, wait, where did he go?
Yeah,
like, we kind of lose track of people, and I think you ended up you had the app, you were able to follow what was going on. it's just different. It's a different experience. Again, it's not like you're going to a soccer game, a basketball game, whatever, where it's like, there's the game. It's in front of your face.
Right.
We're all surrounding it. It's right there.
Yeah.
And it's not like that.
Not at all.
An F1 race, which sounds obvious, but I think it's
it actually it does sound obvious, but even when we got there, I was like, oh yeah, it didn't really occur to me that we would see like a collective 2 minutes of these cars driving by. Because the other thing is, again, this sounds dumb, but like they're going so fast, and like sometimes on TV you just don't get like you can't wrap your mind around how fast they're going. But they just zoom past it, and like it's like there's Mercedes and then they're gone. Like you just don't even get like a full visual.
Yes, exactly. I did want to talk about some just like race day essentials to bring. And I feel like there's obviously the obvious things of sunscreen, a portable charger, a hat, bring water, bring snacks. Is there anything else you could think of that's like a must bring for people going to a race?
Yeah, I also think too, like the same way that not every like race experience is different. Not every track is going to have the same permissions of what you can and can't bring in. So make sure you're checking in like bag size and what you're allowed to bring in. Like I know at least for last year, and I don't know if it will be different, but at COTA, like we were able to bring in a full-size backpack, and we had snacks and bottles of water and Gatorade, and we bought a couple things from like their concession stands there, but they were very flexible about what you were allowed to bring in. There might be some tracks that you have to have a clear bag. I just don't know. So just make sure you're checking in with that. I would say it's a nice to have, not a have to have, but something to think about if you're in the GA is something to sit on. Because we kind of committed last minute to going to the race. Also, we were going to go watch the race somewhere on TV, like downtown or something. But when we found out it might be Daniel's last time in Austin, which it's not, but we were like, we should probably just go. It's not like it was worth it anyway, but yeah, but I mean, we still had a great time.
Yeah.
But, especially at least where we were sitting at COTA, which do you remember what turn it was? It was 19.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a hill. And I think some of the other ones, like turn 1 is also kind of a hill. It can get a little hard on your back if you're sitting down for a long time. So they have just a blanket's fine. And then another thing that I think if we decide to do GA again this year that I'll probably get is for like $20, you can get these, what I think they're called like stadium chairs, and they're quite inexpensive, and they're not like super high tech or anything, but it at least gives you like a pad to sit on, and it basically clips together so you can lean back on it, and just make it a little bit more comfortable. You can also, like, I know people brought in lawn chairs to COTA. So if you live nearby or planning on driving or want to just buy some lawn chairs and leave them behind, I don't recommend that, but I did see that some people did. You can definitely bring those in. Because it is like a long day of like between the driver parade and then, the race is almost 2 hours long. So it just can be a lot of sitting and it's not all that comfortable all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's pretty, again, self-explanatory, and a lot of the stuff you can find online as to what you can and can't bring or what you should and shouldn't bring. But, be prepared for like a day in the sun typically, or the rain. Bring a raincoat. Obviously check the weather and make sure you know what you're in for. That's just again, it just sounds so obvious, but like you just got to pay attention to like the weather that's going on, what's going on around you. You have to put in the time to figure out what you're going to need.
Yeah. And obviously from like a rain perspective, I would imagine umbrellas have very few places of like you actually being allowed to use them. Like, don't be the person in the grandstand with an umbrella.
That happened in Monaco to us.
Not nice. I get it. We all want to be dry, but a hooded poncho for $8 does the same thing, and it doesn't obstruct the view of your fellow fan.
Exactly. And then another thing that I think is I feel like is important, or not important, but I think it's a good thing to remember is like, you don't have to go to all 3 days of the race.
Correct.
And I feel like people have this, they feel like in order to be like, I'm a good F1 fan, I'm going to go to all 3 days. And if you want to, obviously you should. But I think if you're thinking about like going to a race overseas or in a different country, or you're going to travel, like I would say like pick a city or a place that you've wanted to go visit and like you wanted to see, whether that, again, wherever that is, if it's Italy, if it's Japan, And then like pick a day to go to the racetrack. Whether that's on the race, it's a Saturday, whatever. And like enjoy your day at the racetrack, but you don't have to go to all 3 days to have a really good experience. Going just one day, and I guess I can speak from my experience in Monaco, like it's really fun. It's fun to go and be in the environment, see all the things and all that jazz. And then it's really great to like go watch the race somewhere in the city, like with other F1 fans. That's really fun too. So that's another thing that I would say is like, you can just like pick a day. And I, for me, that day would be Saturday. Because you do get like a fun qualifying competitive experience. But then you also get to like travel and see the city and experience like what it's like to be there on an F1 weekend without being at the track, which I think is also fun.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a very general race tips and stuff like that. Now we're going to get into more of like USGP, Austin, COTA specific things. But I know that you have something that you want to share prior to us getting into that.
I do.
Very important.
Yes.
Information.
So if you're watching on YouTube, we have these really cool new sweatshirts.
You see.
So Braden from Parc Fermé sent us these as well as a sticker pack just to kind of promote their brand and just wanted to share a few things with them. So they are a Vancouver-based boutique streetwear brand. Very small team, but huge F1 fans with special charity-driven focuses, which I'm really excited about, as is Zoe. So they are super high quality. We were commenting on how like heavy and just cozy they are, but they're really great quality. And something that's really cool is a portion of each item sold, including their prints, goes directly towards the charity that they have, which is called the Parc Fermé Foundation. And they're committing to sending young deserving F1 fans and their families to an F1 race experience. Kind of focusing on young kids who have faced difficulties, life challenges, or just wouldn't have the means to make it to a race without a foundation like they're stepping in. Obviously we all know F1 can be expensive, and then you know, it's an awesome weekend. We've all, well, not, I shouldn't say we all, but I can speak for myself. I know Zoe feels the same way, but like there's just really nothing like an F1 weekend, and like whether it's a day or the whole weekend, like just getting to experience it for the first time. And so I think it's really cool that he wants to share it. He sort of had an experience with his grandparents when he was younger, going to his first race, and this sort of became a dream of his to be able to do this for other families. They sent someone, a special kid and their family, to the Australian GP earlier this year. And their next goal, which is why I think it's important to talk about in this episode, is to send a family to the USGP in Austin in October. So all orders, no matter how big or small, help in a big way. I do want to kind of add in a disclaimer. They're, especially clothing items, they are a little bit more expensive than what you might typically see, because all of their garments are cut and sewn, meaning that there's no blanks. They're all designed in-house and they're crafted in Portugal. And I really can say the attention to detail and quality is quite good.
Yes.
So just really awesome brand, really awesome like mission. They have really cool products. They have some bags on there too. Also a little bit more expensive, but they're like made for mold race suits. I think they're really, really awesome. But like he said, they have some great prints on there. They have stickers, ton of stuff. So definitely take a look at their website. We'll put link in our bio. So thank you, Braden and the Parc Fermé team, for sending us these hoodies. We're very excited, and we're excited to help you get someone to COTA this year.
Yeah. I feel like this would be a really good like birthday gift.
Yes.
Like if you're wanting to give a gift to someone who's a, not just a F1 fan, but a motorsport fan in general, like would be a great gift.
For sure.
Or a gift to yourself as well.
Amen.
So
we love gifting ourselves things.
We do. Okay, let's get into the USGP tips and tricks.
Let's do it.
So a really big question we got from people was about the parking versus the shuttle experience and what's worth it, what's not, pros and cons, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I think the most important thing to say off the top is it ultimately depends on how you are getting to Austin. If you are driving to Austin and you have a car, it's almost like a, do you remember those like little quizzes we would do as kids, and it'd be like, you pick which way, like, car or no car, and then you go down.
Yeah.
And,
like in J14 magazine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you're flying into Austin and you don't have a car, do not rent a car.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
And don't
not worth your time. Do not do it. Go shuttle full on. Okay. If you have a car, then you can consider the parking element of it, but you could also consider shuttle. I think you can go back or forth, but I really feel like it is not worth your time, your energy to rent a car, to deal with all that bullshit if you don't have to, because ultimately you can take the shuttle. It's easy. And you can, if you want to go to dinner, you want to go downtown, you want to go other places, you can Uber. Because what Hannah and I learned last year, having driven down to Austin, is we ended up having to pay a lot of money in toll fees.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, which is a whole other conversation for a different day. But I don't think that we necessarily saved a bunch of money driving.
No.
Like, I think, again, because, and we'll get into this, because you can get the shuttle from many different locations within Austin, you can easily find a place, I think, relatively close to where you're staying, that's going to be less expensive, and then you don't have to worry about dealing with a rental car, because that's always just a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this depends on like how many people you're going with, and you have a big party, and yada yada yada. There's always exceptions to these rules, but that's sort of my initial like thing, which is, don't even think about it if you are flying into Austin and you're not planning to rent a car, like, or you don't really want to. The shuttle is good, and like, it's not worth it, I don't feel like,
agreed,
to do something different. Okay, so let's just talk about the shuttle and the parking, and then we can kind of give our thoughts on to what we think is better or worse. So the first thing I would say, if you're considering the shuttle, is go to the Circuit of the Americas website. You can go to their, I think it's like under tickets, you can look at like their shuttle information, and all the information for the shuttles is on that site. So you can find all of this there. I just want to say that off the top. So there are 3 different pickup locations, drop off locations, in Austin that the shuttle will pick you up from. So depending on where you're staying in Austin or what's closest to you, you can pick up the shuttle or get on the shuttle from these different spots. There's the downtown location, which is what we took last year, the Waterloo Park location. There's the Barton Creek Square Mall location, and then the Travis County Expo Center. So again, when you figure out where you're going to stay, or you know where you're going to stay, look and see which of these 3 locations is closest to you, and then decide your shuttle spot from there. Now,
you could also choose to reverse engineer and figure out, like, look at hotels or Airbnbs around these pickup locations too, if you'd prefer to do that. So you're like maybe walking to the shuttle or something like that instead.
Yes. Now, when you're buying, the important thing to remember is that if you're buying these shuttle passes, you will pick your locations. Like, if you want to do the downtown shuttle, you will buy the downtown shuttle pass. So you can't change your mind and say, well, I have the downtown shuttle pass, but actually I'm closer to the Barton Creek Mall. You can't do that. Yeah. So make sure that if you are buying shuttle passes, you are buying it for the right location that you are closest to, or that you're planning to catch the shuttle from. Some tickets will have the shuttle pass included. I know ours last year, because we bought GA tickets last minute, they were included. So make sure to check your ticket if you already have tickets, because you might already have a shuttle included in that. There's a lot of things that, like, again, like, we can't necessarily figure out for you. Like, you have to sort of like figure out what your ticket situation is, your location, yada, yada, yada. But I will say, from our shuttle experience last year, was very easy getting on the shuttle.
Very easy getting on.
Like, it was race day. So the busiest day of the weekend, we probably got there, 8:30?
Yeah, we got there earlier than we need. Like,
early, but not that early.
No, I mean, it's not like we were there at 6 a.m. or something.
Yeah. And we got on
there's no, I mean, it's quite a bit of
walk.
like a walk to kind of, which I think is actually really smart, because the reason it is so that when there's a long line, it stays single file and whatever. But it was a bit of a walk kind of through the park to get to the shuttle, but we didn't have to wait to get on a bus.
No, it was very, very easy. And yeah, just got on the bus, took you right to the track, drops you off, and then you're good to go. Like it's super, super easy. Obviously, it's a bit different on the way back, but we had no problems. We probably would have had to wait in line longer if we waited longer to go, like if we waited until, midday or something. But we had no problem showing up early, so it was totally fine. Parking, on the other hand, a lot of passes you could also get parking included in those passes. It is pretty expensive. Parking can be up there depending on, again, are you getting a 3-day pass, a 1-day pass? You can buy parking additionally, like as an add-on, if you don't have it already. There's also a lot of unofficial parking lots. Now, the one that we were at last year, they're not doing F1 anymore. I found that out.
That's fine. I don't want to park there ever again. It's not their fault. It was just, we were in like the very back, and it was.
Yeah. So you can find, and again, like I've said before, like you can do this research, just search like COTA unofficial parking lots, and you will find a list of places that do parking. These basically, they're like, I don't know, 5-10 minute walk away from the track, but they're nearby, and they're like families that like have the space that will do these that will charge you like $20 for a day or something like that, $50 for a weekend. And if you don't have parking ahead of time, like you could probably just pay there as well, like Venmo or cash, like have cash on you if that's what you're planning on doing. But some of these places will also take like advanced
like reservations
as well. So again, go online, just search for unofficial parking lots. Like I just pulled up on my phone. There's one called Danny and Carmen's parking, one called Pat's public parking. There's a whole list. So again, you can find that online pretty easily. Now, the thing with parking is obviously you're in control of when you arrive at the track. You can leave whenever you want. Like you're not waiting around for a shuttle to show up, but you are stuck in the parking lot area if you can't get out. Like you might have to wait for a long time in your car to leave.
Like if your car's blocked in, you mean?
Yeah. Or if there's traffic and whatnot. And I feel like in a way it's more expensive than the shuttle, again, depending on how many days you're going and what kind of parking you get and yada 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 yada. And it also would require more walking because the parking lots are, especially the unofficial ones, are farther away, so you're gonna have to kind of trek from them to get to the track, whereas with the shuttle they'll drop you off right there. Yeah, essentially. What are your pros and cons of each one?
For me, I think it's very dependent on how you travel and what you need at the end of a long day. So from my standpoint, we spent the same amount of time waiting to get out of the parking lot that we did waiting in line, getting on. Like I felt like the getting home when we parked and drove ourselves and getting home from race back to the shuttle drop-off point was about the same.
Yeah. Now, I will preface by saying one was a race day and one was a qualifying day. So the race day presumably is probably a little bit busier and more chaotic.
So we took the shuttle on the race day.
Yes.
Just to add that.
Yes.
I mean, the reality is you have 500,000 people, a little less than 500,000 people going out to one place. There's going to be traffic. So if you are like, when we left qualifying, we had snacks in the car. We prepped, we had our own AC. We were able to sort of decompress. We weren't still surrounded by a lot of people. If that's the scenario that you prefer and need, and having parking on your own makes sense for you and your experience, then that's, I think, where I would lean towards. Even though I have road rage and I get really annoyed when people are driving stupid, but that's fine. If you don't have a car, like the shuttle, it's still like you're not really, I don't think, saving time by taking the shuttle. But I do think there was only a little bit of confusion at the end of the race because we couldn't really figure out where the line started and people were starting to get a little feisty. But other than that, it was really efficient. They kept the lines moving as best they could. There's obviously like so many of these shuttle buses, but then you're in traffic. So there is definitely going to be waiting. So I'd say like patience is going to be your best friend during this time, even though I'm really bad at it. I think if you have the option to choose, I think you need to just understand yourself and those you're traveling with and figure out what makes better, like the most sense for your group and headspace.
Yeah. And also the shuttle, it's like, you don't have to worry about anything. Like you just show up in line, you get on the thing. You're not like having to like get out of some place, try deal with the traffic yourself. Like you're just along for the ride.
Yeah. Like I think we napped.
Yes. Yeah. I think, and I should have said this at the top too, like patience is so important in this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to just accept the reality that everything's going to take a long time. Waiting in line for concessions, waiting in line for the bathroom, getting out of traffic, waiting for the shuttle, whatever it is, it's going to take some time. And you have to go into the experience knowing that. Do not waste your energy. I cannot emphasize this enough. Don't waste your energy stressing out about, oh, this person cut me off. This person did this in line. This is bad. It's a waste of your energy. It's a waste of your time. It's going to ruin your day. You're not going to have fun. It's going to bother you. Just accept that things are going to be a little bit more difficult, take a little bit more time, but you're going to get to where you need to go. You're going to get what you need and you're going to have fun. Because I've seen too many times people just get too worked up and anxious and stressed about these types of things, and it just affects their whole energy and their experience and their whole overall vibe. And you can't expect things like with a event of this size and scale, like there's going to be some little hiccups and some things that don't go quite according to plan, and you just have to prep for that. And I think when you accept that that's going to happen, and when they do happen, you're better, like you can handle it better.
Yeah.
And just accept that it's going to be hot. You're going to be in line a long time, and just like enjoy like you're with your friends or your family or whoever, like just be along for the ride.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's really important because like I was even like when we were in Monaco, like there were just like people who are just like bitching and complaining about like the heat or being in line. I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Like you're in Monaco at an F1 race. Like, I'm sorry that things are taking a little bit longer than you want them to, but like, it's fine. Like we're all going to get to where we need to go. I know it's a little bit inconvenient or a little bit longer than you would have liked, but like, we're all okay. It's not don't waste your energy. Don't waste your time. So have that mindset and you're going to be great. But I agree with you that like you need to decide what's best for you and your like experience.
Mm-hmm. And I think the same could be said. Like we've talked about this, like when we used to go to Vegas for the radio festival, it's like with this whole experience, if you're going to a GP, you need to do it the way you want to do it, not the way you think it's supposed to be done. So if all you really want is like at COTA this year, if you're just like, I just want to see the sprint race, that's the only thing I care about, that's fine. If you really want to be there for the race day, that's great too. Like, you know, however you as a human and those you're traveling with feel it's going to suit you best to spend your time that weekend and your money that weekend, that's what you should do, period. It does not matter what other people are doing.
Yes, exactly. We did get some questions of people asking if they should Uber. Do not Uber. Do not Uber. That is the last thing you should do. I would say
Ubering there is probably fine.
Ubering there's probably fine.
But then it's just kind of like Ubering. You can't get on the shuttle at that point, you know?
Yeah. No, take the shuttle or take a car. But it's just, you're never going to get out of there. You're never going to find, it's just, the
Uber's just never going to get to you. It's
going to be expensive as hell.
Yeah. And the caveat is, unless you're leaving in the middle of the day.
Yes.
Like if you're leaving at the end of the event, whether that's quali, sprint, race, whatever, Ubering is a joke. But if you just kind of go a little bit and like you go for practice and you don't stay for qualifying, you're probably fine to take an Uber. But yeah, unless you're leaving in the middle, I wouldn't plan on that at all.
Right. We got some questions about like cost and how much it would cost. It's going to cost to go to the races and stuff like that. And so you can get a 3-day GA ticket for like a little over $300. They're selling them at Costco now, so you can buy them there. And obviously a grandstand ticket is going to be, you know, 500, 600, et cetera, upwards as you get into better grandstand spots. So the first thing is obviously like, how much money are you willing to spend on a weekend? Do you want to be there for all 3 days? That's, I think, another very important question. Because if you don't want to be there for all 3 days, then you can maybe, you know, get a better seat for one of the days because you know you're not going to be there on the other day. Mm-hmm. So it's all about like what fits in your budget and like kind of what level of an experience do you want to have? Are grandstands better than GA? Yes, because you don't have to get there ahead of time to find a spot. Yeah. You have a elevated view of the track. But also with GA, or with some of the grandstand spots, like you might be in direct sunlight the entire race, whereas with GA, maybe you can find more shade. Mm-hmm. And I will say, like, GA at COTA is very good.
Yeah, it is good.
And compared to other races and stuff, you can see, I mean, we were at turn 19, which is like, it's basically the last turn before the main straight, I'm pretty sure. But also like there's a decent chunk of the track that's a straight prior to turn 19. So we were able to see like a good chunk of the car. We saw Valtteri have his little spin. Yeah. And we saw a lot. We also were able to see kind of up in the distance turn one. Yeah. Which was cool. But obviously if you're in a grandstand, you might be able to see a little
more
bit
of that,
more and a more elevated view of the cars and that kind of stuff.
The other thing too, just at COTA, at least, I don't know about others, but the GA and grandstands, all the facilities are the same. For the main grandstand has a separate set of facilities. Is that correct? Okay. So lines in main grandstand are a little bit less because there's just less people involved, but you're not getting different restroom facilities or anything. Food. Yeah, all the food and beverage, all the activities that you can see, like the Ferris wheel, the games, the merch shops, beverage options, everything. I think I said bathrooms already, but all of that is the same for GA as it is for grandstand. So if I just want to make that clear, like if GA is what your budget allows, like you're not missing out on a large part of the rest of the experience. It's just your viewpoint will be different.
Yes, exactly. And because COTA is a permanent racetrack, there's permanent bathrooms. Like everything is very, it's a more elevated experience because it's a permanent location rather than like them placing this track in the middle of the streets for a weekend. Now, from my perspective, and I think you feel the same way, I like the idea of like sort of doing a grandstand pass for one of the days, doing GA for another one of the days. Like, I don't know how worth it. Obviously, it's the cheapest day to do your grandstand ticket would be on the Friday, in theory. Obviously, this race weekend, it's a sprint weekend, so Friday's qualifying. So I don't know if it's actually going to be cheaper, but like you could say, well, if budget is of concern, you could get a very inexpensive grandstand ticket on Friday and then do GA on Saturday. But also my thinking is, and again, this is different because it's a sprint weekend, so it doesn't really apply, but like I would rather have the better seat for like the sprint race or something, and then just do GA on a Friday where it's like I don't care as much. Now, again, as I've said, this is different for the sprint weekend because on a Friday you will get the qualifying. So if budget allows, like maybe try to get, I was looking online and on Friday and Saturday there's grandstand tickets for $100 and something bucks. And maybe you're only planning to go to the racetrack on Friday and Saturday and not the race, or you're going Saturday, Sunday or whatever. But you can kind of mess around with like doing different things on different days. And you can get 1 day GA tickets for any of the days. So
Yeah, because they
There's a lot
sell
of
like tickets
flexibility.
in a pack of 2 or 3 so that you can, if you want to be in the same place the whole time, but you can definitely, and this is how we did it, but you can definitely buy 3 one-day passes so that you kind of get to experience different areas. So
Yep, exactly. So it's
which I liked a lot.
Yeah. So it's really all about your budget. It's all about what you want to spend, and kind of what you want out of the experience. So I know that's kind of vague, but that's an important thing to keep in mind. For money saving tips, I think the biggest thing I would say is, you can bring in your food, your water, your drinks, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know why that would change this year.
So you don't need to spend any money on food if you don't want to. Like, you can bring all that stuff for yourself. Go to the store if you can, pick up stuff, bring that, so you don't have to spend a bunch of money on that. And then this is obvious, but like, if you can go with a group of people and you can either carpool in their car or stay in the same hotel or Airbnb, like, again, this all sounds very obvious, but that's really going to help cut down on your costs, because that is, I think, the biggest thing for people is like the accommodations and where they're going to stay. And that can really, especially Austin, everything's so expensive. So if you can make friends, I mean, I'm always hesitant to say, like, find people on the internet to stay with. Obviously make sure that they're
background checked 100 times,
that you know them and you feel comfortable and safe with them. Don't just stay with random strangers. Please don't do that. But it will make the experience a lot cheaper, and you don't really spend that much time in the hotel room anyway.
Yeah.
So like, as long as you have a bed to sleep in, even if you're sharing a bed, who cares?
Yeah.
That's my thought, though.
Agreed.
At least.
Yeah. And like the hotel we stayed at last year, it was a measly continental breakfast, but like breakfast was included in the stay. And then, we had snacks, and obviously we did dinners and stuff later. And occasionally I feel like we shared like chicken tenders one day because we just needed them. But
that was fun.
It was fun.
Okay. So the race day itself, we've kind of already gone over like what to bring, the race day essentials, all that kind of stuff. We got a lot of questions asking where people should sit at COTA. Obviously, turn 1, everyone talks about turn 1. It's the biggest, you can see the pictures. It's like everyone goes there because it's very cool. It's top of a hill. You get a view of the main straight, and then obviously the turn is cool too. There's a grandstand at turn 1, but then there's also a big GA section there too. Now, the only caveat with turn 1 is that people will literally get there at the crack of dawn on the race day in order to camp out to get a spot on turn 1. So if you're up for that, more power to you. But we're not. And I think you get a very good view, but as we've mentioned before, like, it's over in it's very, very fast. And so it's all about what you're willing to put in.
Yeah, it's just such personal preference. Like,
if
it's your first time and you really want to experience turn 1, do that. Like, that's great. And if I think there's plenty of us that have camped out for someone or another. I know we both have. So if that's what you want to do, I think that's great, and you should, and experience it. And if you don't want to, that's okay too.
And it's a great,
it's a great
view.
Yeah.
And obviously last year, that's where George had his incident with Carlos. Like, you get to see very cool things. Well, like, that wasn't so cool, but not for Carlos at least. But also, if you don't want to get up super, super early and camp out and wait and be there, there's other great places to watch that are not just turn 1. We mentioned we were on turn 19, which is, I think, also known as Haas Hill. Is what they call it. That's, I think, like the Haas grandstand as well. And it was great. Actually, I felt like it was a really good location because it wasn't too crowded. Like, there was obviously a lot of people there, but like, we weren't like squished.
Yeah, there's still definitely room to move,
walk around. It did get pretty crowded when like the race actually started, and like, it was kind of hard to get out of there. But you're also right near bathroom. You are near food. You're near other things going on. I think it's the turn right by the. It's not the Ferris wheel, but it's that one ride that does like.
Oh yeah.
So it's like right by a ride. Is it right by the COTA sign? No, it's not.
No.
Not the COTA.
No, it's by the amphitheater though.
Yeah. Okay.
That was one of the bathrooms that we used where the drivers pep rally.
Yes. So if you're wanting a more like low key place, not maybe quite as like cutthroat. I mean, we got there at like probably 10ish on Sunday, and there's plenty of space. And there continued to be space well into the. I mean, like we probably could have come like a couple hours later.
And people are respectful. Like if like someone in your group leaves to go to the bathroom and you're kind of holding down the fort, like once you kind of set your territory, at least in my experience, people weren't trying to like step on your toes or like getting, squeeze you out.
Right. So that's a great place to sit. And then obviously and I'm sure there's other good places to sit too with GA. We just didn't experience.
Yeah, we don't know them.
But with grandstand, so we were in the main grandstand on Saturday for qualifying, which was expensive. I can't remember how much we spent. A couple $100?
Yeah,
something like
closer to $3, I think.
Okay. But it was very cool.
Yeah, it was.
Like
I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, like you get a great view, obviously, of the starting line up into turn 1. You're across from the pit lane. And it's very, very cool. It is expensive. So,
and we weren't going to be able to do it for the whole weekend. So we just decided that we'll do it for quali and call it a day.
Yep.
The one bummer, I think that makes it, I think, where we were sitting better this time around is that because it was quali, they all started from the pit lane. So we didn't really get to see them start from where we were. I mean, if we would have been there on a race day, we would have been at like the, front of the grid.
Yes.
But that's not where we were.
Well, if we sit there for the sprint, we'll get that. So, which we should look in.
I know.
That.
I was thinking about that like 20 minutes ago. I was like, oh my gosh.
Again, it's so personal preference driven. It's totally about like what you can afford, what you want, how many days you're going, et cetera, et cetera. But I think the main point is that there really isn't a bad ticket.
You
can get a great seat and a great view, no matter if you're in GA, grandstand, wherever you are. You're going to have a great time, and you're going to, I think, come away from the experience being like, wow, that was really fun. I was around a lot of really fun people. So whatever you can fit into your budget. I would say if you have the time or the money to do like a grandstand ticket one day, a GA, a different day. And again, you can feel free to message us. Like if you are debating between things or questioning like your, individual situations, like happy to talk you through it or give our advice on the situation. But yeah, kind of mess around with it, kind of see what you can find. I will also say, like, for US people, you probably know this, but you can check on StubHub, on SeatGeek. They do a lot of resale tickets. So you can check up I think now too, you can see how much main grandstand tickets are going to be for the Saturday or the race, or how much GA tickets are going to be. But if you only have like one ticket right now, like say you just have your ticket for Saturday qualifying, like you can keep tabs as we get closer to the race, because like on Saturday tickets are going to drop for Sunday. So like if you're kind of on the fence, like I don't know if I want to go on Sunday, yada yada yada, wait and see how you feel. Go on Saturday, see how you feel, and then you can buy tickets Saturday night. Like I think that's the nice thing about America. Well, with StubHub, I mean, I don't love resale stuff all the time, but it is nice for these situations because you can you don't have to commit today. Right. And you can pick exactly where you want to sit, whether it's a certain grandstand, a GA seat, whatever. So check out those sites, as I said, StubHub, SeatGeek. Is there other places that do it?
I don't know about F1. I mean, I know there's others for concerts. I just don't know. Yeah. I mean, sometimes Ticketmaster has resales too.
Yep. So just keep an eye out on that. The fan zone. People did ask about the fan zone. And that is in the amphitheater, as Hannah would say, the driver pep rally. It's in the amphitheater at COTA. And if I remember correctly, there's an app, right, that we had last year that we used to know the timing of different things.
Yes.
So everyone should download. If you're going to COTA, you should. Is it what?
I think it's just COTA.
Okay, like the circuit of the America's app,
and it'll come out like when you get tickets, you'll get emails promo about all that stuff, and the website will have
an app where you can pull it up, and you'll know the times for different things and the times for the driver pep rally. And you can also get updates on like when certain teams are doing them and the times and all that kind of stuff. So just keep up to date with that. A lot of questions about what to wear. I mean, obviously you should wear Fifth Gear Garms merch.
Duh.
Get a great t-shirt or something to wear. Use code FanBehavior 10% off. Comfort is key.
Yes.
Do not wear jeans. Actually, don't wear denim.
Unless that's your preferred comfort and being swampy in your butt is something you like.
It's so hot.
Yeah.
I would not recommend wearing denim.
Yeah, Austin in October is a hot place to be.
I would honestly recommend wearing like a summer dress that's like flowy and like casual, because I feel like you can get a lot of airflow, movement, but still look cute with the dress. Or wear like a workout dress or like spandex, like just go comfortable.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I wore bike shorts and my Rick 3 shirt, and then I wore my black athletic dress. Did we only go to the track twice? Yeah, so that was it. Go casual. It's definitely different than like a Monaco or something like that, where people maybe are a little bit more elevated. Wear sneakers, wear closed-toed shoes, because it is very dusty. So yeah, don't even try to risk it with like sandals. I wouldn't wear boots personally. I would wear. There's a lot of walking around.
Yeah, a lot
especially if you decide you want main grandstand and you're committed to staying in the main grandstand space, you won't be walking as much. But if you are GA or any other grandstand, there's plenty of trucking it. So definitely comfortable shoes. If you want to, dress up a little bit more, go for it. But again, it's like a pant that's breathable and, or a dress or something like that. That's just more comfortable, allows for airflow. Hat is key. If you burn like me or her, hats are good. Sunscreen's great.
Your favorite F1 team with your, with a good old hat. And a lot of people wear just like their favorite F1 driver merch. Like, just go all out for your favorite driver, favorite team. And there's so many great, we said Fifth Gear Ground, but there's so many other great like places to get really good stuff to wear.
Yeah.
So
like I feel like a lot of people ask when we wear our like retro insane graphic tees with the drivers on them. People ask us about those a lot. We got those on Etsy. To be fair, like I think legally they're a little bit of an issue from like the business like a trademark perspective. So the business itself seems to change a lot. So I can't give you a link or anything because I think the place I bought it from isn't open anymore. But if you just do like, F1 90s t-shirt or whatever, they pop up.
Just like search for your favorite driver on Etsy and you'll probably find a lot of options.
Yeah.
Okay, where to stay? So we were in Austin in June and we stayed at the Marriott South Austin.
Fantastic.
Which was fantastic. It was very close to the track. Like, I don't know, maybe 15 minutes away. So if you're driving, again, it's like a great place to stay. But what I think, obviously it's like a nice, comfortable hotel, but breakfast is included and it's a good breakfast, which key. And yeah, the proximity to the track, I feel like, is so key. And we actually have a discount code for anyone who wants to maybe stay there, whether it's for the USGP or at another time you're going to Austin. You can use the code. It's in our link tree, which is in our Instagram and TikTok bios. And I'll try to add it. If I remember, I'll try to add it to the description of this episode as well. And you can use our like corporate rate basically to stay there. But that was a excellent experience.
Yeah,
I recommend.
Yeah, the restaurant at that hotel was fantastic. Do not sleep on it if you go there. It's so good.
I actually ate there because I stayed in.
Oh yeah,
and I ate there. I had I feel like I had like a chicken parm sandwich. It was so good. So like there's the breakfast sort of lounge area, but then there's also like a separate restaurant. So if you're like exhausted after a day of being at the track, you don't have to like leave your hotel to like get food. You can just go to the restaurant, eat there. Like, so fantastic. So definitely recommend. But if you can't stay there or you want something else, like the reality is everything's expensive. Airbnbs are booked up. Like everything is you're going to have to pay.
You're going to have to pay, or, and this is again where you have to decide what's more important to you. Is it important to stay downtown near the action, or is it important to have an affordable hotel and just like Uber if you want to go downtown, or take the shuttle, whatever? Because we stayed in a hotel that was 25-ish minutes away from like downtown Austin.
Well, yeah. Well, so we stayed like in basically, it wasn't even technically Austin. It was Round Rock, and it was north of Austin, and the track is south of Austin. And it was like, but it was the same distance to get to the track as it was to get downtown, about 20-minute drive. And the reality is most things are going to be about that distance away.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you need to stay downtown, super in the middle, because you're also going to be far away from the track. And if you want to stay close to the track, you're going to be far away from downtown. So it's like nothing is going to be super close and super efficient. So my recommendation would be to just find the best place that's relatively close, that's the cheapest option, and stay there.
Yeah.
Don't worry about staying super close. Of course, unless you're wanting to like, I don't know, like because I figure if you're staying farther away and you're taking the shuttle, maybe you're going to have to Uber to the shuttle location to then take the shuttle, which is fine. And again, depending on how many people you're with, may not be very expensive. But if you're wanting to just walk, then maybe you're going to want to stay downtown. But the reality is most places are going to be pretty pricey.
Yeah. I mean, I think places I've seen are averaging like 500 plus a night right now.
Yeah. So that's also when it comes into like, if you have other friends that are going, other people that are going, like get a group, suck it up, stay together, share beds. Like it's not always the most enjoyable, but you're barely there. Like that's the truth. Like you're there to sleep. And then, but like I said, we stayed, I mean, a ways away, it wasn't actually that far. And what do we spend? Like, it was like $300 total per night, which sounds kind of crazy, but it was cheap compared to the rest of the places. And it was fine. Like, it was totally fine. Like, not a big deal. And again, we had a car, so it made it easier for us. But, and like I said about the tickets and stuff, if people have questions and they have like things they're looking at, or hotels they're looking at, Airbnbs, and they want our advice, please send them in our Instagram DMs. I'm happy to help answer.
The other thing about accommodations, and I don't have a lot of information on this because I kind of at one point had a panic that we weren't going to have anywhere to stay, and went a little rogue, but they have like RV camping spots at COTA that you can rent. And there is, I don't remember the name of it, but there is a company that kind of like a Turo or an Airbnb that you can rent RVs. So if that is anything that you're interested in, something to look at.
Yes.
But I don't really have much more information than that, other than it is a possibility if that's something you'd like to look into.
Yes. Okay, let's just get into some miscellaneous questions we got. So people ask, best place to see drivers. I mean, you might see drivers out and about in Austin, though, like
it's hard to know.
And I feel like that's going to become like that chance is going to get less and less, because I think it's just, if I was them, I wouldn't want to be out and about. I do know that though, that like if you stay the extra day, like Monday after the race, like people have seen F1 drivers like out at different national restaurants and stuff like the day after the race. So something to keep in mind. Or maybe, do you remember those people that saw Daniel and Heidi on the scooter on the street?
Oh yeah.
Maybe you'll just see this scootering around. But in terms of at the actual track on the grounds, the best place is at the driver pep rally.
Yes.
Which is very fun.
It is fun.
I really enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah.
And they do those on Friday morning and Saturday morning. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And they'll do like probably five at a time, and then they'll do the other 5 the following day. So if you're wanting to get like to see your favorite drivers up close and personal, that's probably the best way to do it. What are the grounds like at COTA? Amazing.
Really nice.
Really so cool.
Yeah.
Like very spacious, lots to do, lots to see, like lawn space to just kind of chill and hang out. Like I've compared it to like a festival vibe, and it's a very festival vibe. Like there's rides, there's places to eat, there's like little sort of pop-up things.
Yeah.
Like it's very fun and the energy is great. You're around a lot of other, obviously, F1 fans. Like it's a fun place. Even if you weren't there to watch racing, you just were there to like spend a day.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice place to spend a day.
Agreed. Yeah. And I feel like they do, or like the staff always seems really friendly. Like it's as clean as it can be with 400,000 people in and out for 3 straight days. Like I think it's, and again, we don't have a lot to compare it to from track perspective, but I think they do a great job.
Yes. Someone said, how do you structure your 3 days to fit everything in? I think the most important thing is to just like write down or like figure out what is most important for you to see. So like if it is the driver pep rally stuff, if it is, you know, qualifying, if it's this, that, the other, like I feel like with practice, which obviously, again, this is so specific because this year is different. There's only going to be one practice, which is also kind of insane. Like you don't need to sit through a full hour of FP1. Like you can see a little bit of it if you want to, and then you can like go to do a different thing. So it's really just about like, what do you really value and what do you really want to see? And then like adjust accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like it was super difficult. I didn't feel like we were like rushing around to
No.
like, get things in. Like everything was fine.
Yeah, no, I thought we did everything we wanted. And I think that's, again, like what Zoe said, is you have to decide, like, I don't want to leave Austin without doing X, and then start to kind of make a schedule around that. And then if you're not able to fit things in, you have to decide, okay, which one's a non-negotiable and which one am I okay leaving behind until next year or whatever.
Yep. Like you can also go onto the track when the race is over on Sunday. We didn't do that, but like you can go onto the track and you can, you know, be on there and do that kind of stuff, which is fun. But maybe it's more important for you to like get the hell out of there. Like
that's what it was for us.
You can pick and choose. Someone asked about finding off-track events, like with, you know, like the Williams pop-up. My biggest piece of advice would just be to follow all the teams on social media and just like keep your eyes peeled for like what because they'll obviously share that on their social media. We'll try to do our best, like leading up to the race, to make sure that we share those things on our page as well, in case people happen to miss it, or keep people updated on what's going on in and around Austin. So yeah, just keep your eyes peeled. I don't really have any other advice other than that.
Because a lot of that stuff that does happen, it's not all of it's public. So you might see pictures and stuff or videos from it, but it's like an invitation event that we wouldn't have been broadcasted and we wouldn't know about it.
Yeah, exactly. And then someone said, what day is the best to go if you can only go on one day? And I would say for this day specifically, it's probably Saturday, the sprint.
Mm-hmm. But I would say in general, for me, my opinion is quali.
Yeah.
So which is always going to be the Saturday, right?
Yeah, but for COTA this
year.
Yeah. And you'll get a quali. I mean, you'll get the sprint quali and then you'll get the sprint race. So, and you'll get to see a race, but it'll be, you know, half an hour rather than an hour and a half, and might be a little bit less expensive, a little bit less crazy. We're still on the fence as to whether we're going to go to the race or not. Who knows? We're still, everything is kind of up in the air for us. I mean, we're going. It's just the final plans are just where we're going to sit and be, all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, like, it's so fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
I had the best time going last year, and like I said, just the energy is really great. It's fun. It's going to be a long day. Like, I feel like every day after we were at the track, we literally just like we like drove through like we get like Chinese food or something, and like get to our hotel and like sit and eat and watch like a movie, which was what I wanted to. Like, I just didn't have the full energy to like do anything else after that. It's going to be a long day. You're going to be tired, hot, but it's a really fun time.
So fun.
We'll be there. I think I'm going to make a bunch of friendship bracelets to pass around with people. So if you see us out and about, like, come find me and I'll give you a bracelet if I have any left. And it's just fun to be around other F1 people.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's a really, really good time. So I hope you all are there. If you can make it to COTA this year, I think, we're biased. I have never been to Miami. Obviously haven't been to Vegas, but yeah, I think it is the F1 race in the States. Like,
I think so too.
I really don't have any I shouldn't say I don't have any interest in going to Miami. I do, but I feel very biased towards COTA.
But I think, you know, like you said earlier, having a permanent track versus street track is a very different experience. I think Miami is still new. Vegas hasn't happened. Yet. So I think, you know.
Yeah. We're also going to make, I know you mentioned making like some sort of ebook type of thing. Yes. So with like recommendations and tips and tricks that we'll put out at some point. So if you want it in written form, you can see all that. It's just I mean, we have taken, well, I guess you didn't take turn 1 in our hot lap, but I've taken turn 1, and I can tell you it is,
honestly, I don't think my tummy could have handled it
during our hot lap, and I think I was probably only going about 100 miles an hour, so I can't imagine what they were going through. But it is a wild ride.
It is a wild ride.
It is a wild ride.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Okay, guys. Well, that's that on that. Hope that answers at least some of your questions. At least maybe helps you work through some things you're going through. Like I said, our DMs are always open. If you have questions, we can give our best advice as much as we can. Very excited for it. It's going to be a great time. Yeah. We're still, we know some people have asked about doing some sort of like meetup type of thing on the weekend. We would love to do that. We have to work out logistically how that would work. Actually, Michaela, she loves F1, mentioned doing the Taylor Swift, dressing up as the Taylor Swift era, and just going to Coyote Ugly or going someplace with touch tunes and just playing Taylor Swift all night.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
So fun.
So we'll let you know if that ever transpires or what we might end up doing. It's also the Chelsea Arsenal weekend.
Yeah,
so a lot of things to
big weekend.
Big fun times for us all. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, Dutch GP this weekend. Zandvoort. Gonna be great. F1's back.
Just nothing like kicking off the season with, or the end of summer break with the Orange Army.
Another Max home race. Good
Love
times,
them, but goodness gracious
for all. Okay, guys. Talk to you next week.
Enchante.